Hey everybody, it's Pete. Good morning. Welcome to a new episode of today's Best Stock Picks. It's already September. September 1st, 2020. It is Tuesday. Welcome. Wow, a lot going on again yesterday. We had a small handful of stocks that just exploded yesterday. And quite honestly, that's real trading. Real trading is being in the right stocks when they're ready to move. We get asked quite a bit about the difference between day trading and swing trading. And just to make it clear, a lot of the ideas, if not all of the ideas that we take, are swing trades first. So if you happen to be watching these videos, if you happen to be in the boot camp, all of the ideas that we're looking at, we would day trade because they're swing trades. So if it doesn't look good on the higher time frame, in the strategy that I teach and the one that I use, which is order flow and tape reading, I first want to see the idea look good on the higher time frames. So on the higher time frames yesterday, we had a few stocks that were kind of pausing, a few stocks that pulled back, and a few stocks that were primed and ready to go. And this is the job of an active trader, which is cycling through your list. And it was probably the biggest thing I kept talking about yesterday in the private community, which is cycle through the list, keep coming back to the stock, set your alerts. Very similar to what we had in Netflix last week when it exploded for $60. Yesterday, there was some good opportunities. AMD, which is we're going to take a look at in a second, was at the top of the list. But the obvious stocks we're going to discuss today are Zoom, which had earnings yesterday, and I have to say, zoomed higher. Just exploded. But it's also, if you're a good trader or you're really looking to be one, now you have to start to put the pieces together and say, okay, this online stuff, pandemic or not, everybody's working from home. I'm using Zoom right now, literally. Another stock we're going to talk about is Work, which is Slack. It's kind of been suppressed since it came out. Another stock that you say, okay, Zoom, Slack, all these online stuff. They just announced that Peter Thiel's Asana, which is very similar to Slack, is going to be applying for an IPO. So now you're going to start to say, is the pandemic-related stocks staying where they are? Are these opportunities where these might be the next value stock, like Wayfair, when it got crushed at the height of the pandemic, was all the way down, I believe, at like $6. We'll take a look, and now it's over $300. Slack, Work is the symbol, right around 35, 37. We'll take a look. Is that the next one? Then we also have DocuSign and a couple of stocks like that. DocuSign actually has earnings on Thursday. So we're going to take a look at Zoom. We're going to talk briefly about how to trade it now that earnings have come out. And we have a very specific trade setup for earnings. I'm not day trading the stock right now. Personally, I just don't like the liquidity intraday. But it's an opportunity that many people are taking advantage of right now, and quite honestly, you should. It is an opportunity that has presented itself and erupted from the pandemic, and now it looks like it's here to stay, because I don't know about you, but I know a lot of people that are working from home until January. That's a pretty big deal. But I do believe that this is going to change the way people get office space. I do believe that this is going to change the way business is done. I personally used to do a lot of business traveling. And I'm not doing that anymore because we can do exactly what we're doing now and meet here online. So we're going to hit the charts. We're going to take a look at the market. Obviously, the market hit a new all-time high yesterday, but closed a little lower. Of course, the futures are up again today. Nothing wrong with that. So we'll see how it's going to unfold. So let's take a look. Oh, by the way, if you find these videos helpful, definitely click down and subscribe so you get updates. So obviously, here's Zoom. If you didn't happen to catch it after hours last night, it closed yesterday at $325 and change. Right now, it's up $85 pre-market. So what do? Do you get involved? Now, if it wasn't such a monstrous gap, I would say, yeah, it looks pretty good. And we had a couple of these gaps recently, specifically Target, TGT, that we're going to talk about in a minute, where the stock gapped and just had an amazing day. CRM did the same thing, Salesforce.com. I'm actually looking for the same thing today, despite the size of the move. It's not uncommon now. We're going to talk about Apple and Tesla in a second and how they traded, for these stocks that are just having these gigantic moves to actually follow through on the gap after earnings and lock in those prices. And Target's kind of trading sideways now for about 6 days. I'm still watching this one for an explosion because it's holding the gap. Just because it got boring after the earnings doesn't mean to give up on it. You got to keep going back to it, set your alerts and look for it. So as long as this stock Zoom is above the opening price today, which obviously it's going to be above yesterday's close, I'm going to be looking to bid for the stock today. I have not day traded it, but it's got a lot of attention on it today, and it does look different today. If it starts to trade below the open, very similar to what we saw in AZN and Abbott Labs recently, where there was really good FDA news, but those stocks traded below the open and started trading lower the next few days and did not offer tradable opportunities. So the difference between an FDA announcement related to COVID and a business related to COVID that's affecting hundreds of millions of how people are working right now. So as long as this meets the criteria that we just discussed, I'm going to be looking to day trade it long. However, keep in mind, this is a $400 stock that's not super liquid. It's going to have attention on it today, but that means if you're going to day trade it, expect wider price action, and you're going to have to work those orders a little bit. Tesla was one of the stocks of the day yesterday, and believe it or not the stock of the day in the community. Obviously had an explosion after the stock split. It looked like it was going to get to 500 and came pretty close on the close. Now at 533. Look, if you can afford to trade this stock as a stock, not as an option, I'll explain why in a second. This is a stock you need to be paying attention to. You're going to have to trade, again, with a little bit of a wider stop loss, maybe a little bit less share size if your account isn't as big as you would like it to be, but work every day. Have that account grow on a weekly basis, and you'll be able to eventually trade a little bit more aggressively. But quite honestly, you don't need to trade a lot. The stock had a $60 trading range yesterday, give or take $1. There's a lot of meat on that bone. You can get in there and get in there. So Tesla traded tremendously yesterday, should be in the list again today, should have the characteristics of a stock that's going to follow through again today. Apple was a little bit of a dud yesterday, not joking around at all. I think the entire world was waiting for this stock to just do exactly what Tesla did. It didn't, which is quite honestly a little bit frustrating. You can see here, and this is on a 15-minute chart, you can see all of the indecision during the day, and it was a little bit challenging. So will it be in my list today? Yeah, absolutely. Will I be trading it aggressively? Only if it's above what we call the opening range breakout. If it's a swing trade, the stock now split adjusted. Looks like it's pausing for a little bit here and going to give you a shot to initiate a new swing trade at $129. Boy, there's going to be a lot of people kicking themselves 6 months from now if this thing is $300, $400 again. So absolutely needs to be in the list. So we're going to talk about work today as well. Getting a lot of attention. I use Slack every day. I know a ton of people that are using it right now. There's a bunch of different technologies. The word on Slack right now, the terminology that everybody's using for Slack, and the whole point of Slack is that it's replacing email conversations where I'm sure you've done this in the past where you basically email somebody and then this becomes this giant long chain and you can't even follow it anymore. Well, Slack solved that. Slack is essentially channels and conversations for a work group that you can essentially have a topic and a topic and a topic. You could direct message somebody and it cuts back on all those nonsense emails and you get lost in. This is an interesting play, and I'm not really a value investor, but this is a super interesting play that I'm going to look to be building a position in over the long term because this has a lot more room to go. As far as a trade today, though, the stock is now up 5 days in a row. Today's higher opening is going to take it right into that resistance at 34. So I'm probably looking for a higher opening today to pause for a few days. And then this trade above 34 gets really, really interesting. FTCH is one that's been called out in the community quite a bit recently. We had a really good bullish gap, filled the bullish gap, and now it's pausing. I actually like this for follow through as well today. JD is an interesting one. It actually exploded for about a week and a half, paused, and now it's just kind of hanging there for about 4 or 5 days. Make sure this is in your radar today. This stock has attention on it. This stock has volatility on it. It has liquidity on it. This meets the criteria. And for those of you that do classic technical analysis, there's your bull flag. It doesn't get any cleaner than that. We mentioned CRM. We're just going to take a look at those two. We're going to look at CRM now after this monstrous gap after earnings. Actually holding up a little bit better than Target. It's actually flat right now, looking for this to punch higher again today. And this would be a new swing trade initiated because now it's paused 3 days after earnings. Target not quite as clean, but you can see it's still holding the bullish gap. Hasn't even come close to filling the bullish gap. Most of the bullish earnings and the trading after it that day is still inside that price action. Gosh, I'm really looking for this one to explode. It's setting up just really, really cleanly. AMD was the trade of the day in the community yesterday. Just a easy trade, for lack of a better way of putting it, based on if you're in the community, if you're in the boot camp, you know exactly what we're looking for. It just kept giving us entry after entry, and just a question of where you got in. We are looking for follow through today. It's going to open a little bit higher. A lot of people asking what the target is, and obviously 100 par has to be the first target, but if it gets through there, 110 will be the next level. CRWD made the list today. It actually has earnings on Wednesday, which is tomorrow. But how do you not like that breakthrough? Let's just take a look at the bigger picture to give you an idea. We are at all-time highs. So based on where we are with earnings tomorrow, opening up higher today. So it's bullish into earnings, all-time high breakthrough 2 days before earnings, $5.27 higher as I'm recording this, with earnings coming out tomorrow. Bullish into earnings. I don't know if you want to get involved after the stock has already traveled roughly $36 at this point heading into earnings on top of whatever it does tomorrow, but absolutely should be in your list, because remember, you have to be saying to yourself, am I investing in the stock or am I trading the stock? Zoom obviously exploded and traded higher, but there was also the downside risk. That was a good one. You have to decide, do I want to trade earnings prior to or after to? The point that I want to make about trading options in these stocks, options market makers are smart. They're going to price the premiums really high, giving them the best chance of making money. So when attention expands on these stocks, especially these popular stocks heading into earnings, all-time highs, options premiums are going to be more expensive. And when I say expensive, I'm not talking about the price. I'm talking about expensive relative to expiration and the odds of making money. So they're going to increase the price of the premiums to match the volatility and the time to expiration. So do some research on those options if you're looking to trade them. As we said, DocuSign actually traded at or near our breakout level on last week, finally punched through there. We were looking for 230 and it's actually already at 239. So you can see there's a little bit of news here. You guys can read into the news yourself, but they have actually, I'm sorry, this is last August 12th. This isn't today. Earnings are on Thursday in DocuSign. So the last two trades I want to talk about today is UPS. And you can see now the stock has now paused for roughly 2 weeks. This is one of those stocks that I'm not day trading because this is what it normally does, quite honestly. But if you're looking to swing trade the stock, it's offering some opportunity where the Postal Service is having some problems. This stock is now punching through. It's at new highs, and it has plenty of room to go. This is a build a position type swing trade, but you probably get bored out of your mind watching it if you're an active trader. This is more like tucking in the closet and watching with moving averages. And Qualcomm actually rounds out the list of stocks that we keep watching, also at all-time highs. Not really trading perfectly. We were looking for well bid followed by well bid closing on the highs at all-time highs. And look, we initiated this swing trade last week around 116. Right now it's around 122 pre-market, so it's still following through. And if you were watching, we actually said buy those if you wanted to buy options. This is a different scenario. We had 3 days of indecision, 3 days of the stock being really quiet. So attention was away from the stock, which brings down the options premiums, and it's cheaper to buy those premiums relative to expiration. And now you get a move like today, those premiums are expanding and you're sitting in a good spot. So it's a lot to watch again here today. The market is actually opening up higher again as of right now. Some big earnings again this week. Like we said, DocuSign is on Thursday. Watch work today and look for some follow through in CRM, AMD, and Target. Those are going to be at the top of my list today. Have a great day, everybody.